And good morning. Welcome to The Bright Side. I am Pharmacist Ben. Thanks for joining us. Our number today and every day on The Bright Side is 844-236-6010. If you have questions, comments, success stories you'd like to share, if you have a health challenge you or a loved one may be dealing with and you want help with that, we are here for you. 844-236-6010 is our number on The Bright Side. We'll get your calls next segment. We're going to talk to Dr. Diana Drake at the bottom of the hour. Dr. Diana Drake is a naturopath. She specializes in holistic medicine as well as skin conditions and hormone replacement therapy. We're going to talk a little COVID, a little vaccine, and a little HRT with Dr. Diana Drake at the bottom of the hour. And we'll get your calls next segment, 844-236-6010. If you want to purchase longevity products, go to brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, or criticalhealthnews.com, or even better, if you want to start a longevity business and start a home-based business and make some money in your spare time while you help change the world at the most basic level there is, the most fundamental level there is, which is the level of good health. You can click on the Join the Team link at brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, or criticalhealthnews.com. You can also call 866-735-2470, 866-735-2470 for more information. All right, we'll get your calls next segment, 844-236-6010. We'll talk to Dr. Diana Drake about HRT, hormone replacement therapy, as well as skin conditions, both her specialties, and then also a little bit about the vaccine, which I've been reading a lot about lately. 55 people have died from this mRNA vaccine. No surprise if you know what's going on with vaccines. This is a vaccine that has not been tested. The first people who use the test are going to be guinea pigs. The testing that was done on the vaccine was done on healthy people. It was only done for a couple of maybe 6 weeks or 8 weeks or so. Usually vaccines are tested for years. So if you are lining up to get the vaccine, just know that you are one of the guinea pigs. You are the experiment. This is a brand new type of vaccine, a vaccine that is unlike the old vaccines, which involve giving you pathogens, attenuated or weakened pathogens that would stimulate your immune system. This new vaccine changes your genetics. Brand new vaccine style, brand new way of vaccinating people. I don't want to get too much into it. We're going to talk to Dr. Diana Drake a little bit about that at the bottom of the hour. Last program we were talking about oral candidiasis, OC, or thrush. OC is a fungal disease that is known as a disease of antibiotics. It's caused by the Candida yeast, and it exemplifies the problems with pharmacological therapy. As important as antibiotics are, nobody disputes that they were a very important medical advance. They don't, like all drugs, they come with problems. When you take an antibiotic, you set yourself up for antibiotic resistance. Not only do you set yourself up with antibiotic resistance, which has been well elucidated in the literature, most medical people know about antibiotic resistance, but less recognized is how antibiotics opened up the body to new types of infections, opportunistic infections, among which, and maybe the most important of which, are the fungal infections. The rise of the yeasts, according to Dr. Ernest Jowitz, writing in 1955. He was a microbiologist at the University of California in San Francisco. He called it the rise of the yeast during antibiotic administration, and he wrote that, quote, the pathogenic potential of these fungi has caused great concern, unquote. And he's right. Thrush we've known about thrush for maybe 150, 170 years or so. First medical literature that talked about oral candidiasis or thrush was, I think, 1850s or 1860s. But thrush really wasn't a big thing until the 1950s or late 1940s, 1950s. Oral candidiasis, a candida infection of the mouth, i.e. thrush, shows up as a white creamy patch on the tongue or the lips or the inner cheek. And it can be quite disconcerting to look at, especially if it's in your mouth. Imagine open up your mouth and seeing a white coating on your tongue or on your inner cheek. It's the result of an overgrowth of yeast, of the candida yeast. Under normal healthy conditions, we all have yeast in our mouths. We all have yeast on our mucous membranes. But when they overgrow, it causes this really distressing white coating, and it can go into your gums and your tonsils and the back of your throat. Usually it happens when the immune system is suppressed. but it can also happen when we're on a course of antibiotics. It usually happens in infants and the elderly because it takes a lot of immune weakness to occur, and babies and old folks are obviously the most likely to have a weakened immunity. If HIV patients are known to get thrush, and folks who are on long-term cyclosporin, which is a immune suppressant medication that you get after you have a liver transplant or a kidney transplant. They'll leave you on cyclosporin for your entire life. Long-term use of antibiotics, if you stay on an antibiotic for more than a couple months, you can get thrush. And it wasn't a mere 10 years after antibiotics first came in common use, the early 1950s, they started to realize that, hey, there's a problem here. An editorial in the Journal of the American Medical Association published in 1952 said, quote, the occurrence of monolysis, that's what they used to call thrush, monolysis, the occurrence of monolysis as a complication of antibiotic therapy has been definitely established, unquote. And that's 1952, a mere 10 years after antibiotics became popularized. Now, fortunately, once thrush occurs, it's pretty easy to treat, although it can recur. Yeast are difficult to completely eradicate. If you have diabetes or if you're wearing dentures, you're more likely to have to deal with thrush. But usually, if you get thrush, you can somehow assume that your immune system has been compromised. Likewise, if you suffer from chronic vaginal yeast infections, vaginal yeast infections are a type of thrush. They're a vaginal candidiasis. Thrush is an oral candidiasis, and vaginal yeast infections are vaginal candidiasis. To eliminate the problem in the short term, you can go the pharmaceutical route. You can go to the drugstore and get yourself some Monistat for a vaginal yeast infection. You can also get lozenges or mouthwashes. Nystatin is used sometimes. Something called diflucan is sometimes used for oral candidiasis. Good oral hygiene, regular dental checkups can help. But most of all, for the long haul, you have to work on the immune system. Work on our immune system, and especially digestive health. Because remember, the digestive system is the home of the immunity. Everything else, there's an immune system in the skin, there's an immune system in the respiratory tract and in the lungs. We have immune systems scattered out throughout the body, but the headquarters is the digestive tract. The headquarters is the intestine. That's ground zero for the immune system. And there is nothing more important for long-term good health, for anti-aging, for beauty, for everything that you could possibly think of that has to do with the health of the body than working on the digestive system, specifically the intestine. The whole digestive system, but specifically the intestine. For anti-aging, for beauty, for skin health, for just being strong and vital. And, of course, for dealing with yeast infections, work on the digestive system. And antibiotics, by the way, wreak havoc on the digestive system via their ability to kill those gut bacteria. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. 844-236-6010 is our number. Line's open for you. We'll be back on the bright side right after this. Okay, we are back on the bright side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. 844-236-6010 is our number. If you have questions, comments, success stories you'd like to share, we want to hear from you. 844-236-6010. Dr. Diana Drake will be with us at the bottom of the hour. We're going to talk hormone replacement therapy, the immune system, and skin health as well. Dr. Drake is a naturopath here in Colorado. We'll talk to Diana Drake at the bottom of the hour. We'll get your calls here if we have calls in this segment. 844-236-6010. So you can't take a prescription drug and not expect to have problems associated with it eventually. In the short term, yes, there are prescription drugs you can take, and obviously antibiotics were a very important medical advance. But if you are taking a prescription drug for the long haul, you are playing with fire. Prescription drugs represent toxins to the body. They represent poisons to the body. There's no good prescription drugs, period. The body has evolved to use certain chemicals, certain molecules. And when I say the body, I mean cells, because it's all about the cells. And cells have been around for 3.5 billion years with a B. If you think of all of life if you think of all of existence on planet Earth, not life, but if you just think of planet Earth as a year, from the time 4 billion years ago, they say, that Earth came into being, human beings were only came around maybe December 31st at 11:55 p.m. on the way to New Year's. The last 5 minutes of the year were human beings. Bacteria came around maybe in sometime in March. Those were the first cells, the bacterial cells. They came around sometime in March. Human beings came around 5 minutes to midnight on December 31st. So the bacterial cells, the first cells, have been around a really, really, really long time. First cells came around on planet Earth about 500 million years after Earth came into being. That means they've had a long time to figure out what they want to eat. Cells have had a menu that they eat from that was developed 3.5 billion years ago. And that menu is very select. It's very narrow. There's not a lot of stuff on the menu. We call basically the menu the Mighty 90 Essential Nutrients. That's the menu that cells have evolved to utilize. Well, guess what? Drugs ain't on the menu. There's no prescription drug on the menu, whether it's ivermectin or whether it's hydroxychloroquine or whether it's metformin or whatever drug you're taking. It's not on the menu. That means the body has to figure out how to deal with that. And fortunately, there is a wonderful detoxification system in the body that can dismantle most of these drugs and most of the poisons. By the way, we're talking about prescription drugs as something that you get from the doctor in the pharmacy, but basically speaking, if you understand that prescription drugs are foreign toxins to the body, substances that the body has to get rid of and substances that cells can't really work with, well, that broadens the spectrum of what constitutes a prescription drug. Using that as a definition, most of the foods we eat are prescription drugs. At least they contain mostly prescription drugs. I mean processed foods and ultra-processed foods. The chemical cocktails that compose most of the cereals and energy bars and boxed and packaged foods, even the ones you get at the health food store, are mostly stuff that the body has to detoxify. We're subsisting on chemicals, on molecules that aren't on the menu for the most part. That's why we're sick. That's why we're so sick. And a vaccine isn't going to help. That's idiocy. Idiocy. And if a doctor or medical professional tells you that and doesn't tell you to stop eating the processed food, he doesn't know he's misleading you. I'll be nice. They don't know. It's up to us to know. It's up to us to use these ideas for our good health. That's really the problem here, folks. We got bad ideas. The real pathogens, the real viruses in our environment are the ideas. The idea that we can be drugged or medicalized back to health is a pathogenic idea. It's a mind virus. The idea that we need to go to a healthcare professional outside of us to stay healthy is a mind virus. The idea that we need to be vaccinated to stay healthy is a mind virus. The idea itself is the virus. And an idea, make no mistake about it, ideas are really, really powerful. I'm reading a book now by a guy named G-A-D, Gad Saad. I don't know how he says it, Gad Saad, S-A-A-D. And he writes about parasitic infections of the mind. I call them mind viruses. He calls them parasitic ideas. Google Gad Saad, G-A-D, S-A-A-D, on how parasitic ideas are entering and running our minds. That's why it's so important to turn off the news. The news is the main inoculator of parasitic ideas, and there's nothing beneficial on the news. Nothing, except maybe the weather. There's nothing beneficial. There's nothing you need to know on the news. It's just a way that parasitic ideas enter into our mind and run our mind. It's the way that mind viruses get into our system. Don't watch the news. They're not your friends, period. All right. 844-236-6010 is our number from King's College in London. Link between gut microbes, diet, and illness revealed. Diets rich in healthy and plant-based foods encourage the presence of gut microbes that are linked to a lower risk of common illnesses, including heart disease, research has found. This was published in the journal Nature Medicine. Today there's kind of like this counter idea about veggies and how veggies are problematic, and there's the carnivore diet, and Dr. Stephen Gundry has become very popular with his book The Plant Paradox, and it's kind of an interesting take on vegetables and on botanicals, fruits and vegetables in general, and the idea being that they're not necessarily benign, and that's a good point. That's true, and also vegetables and botanicals tend to be lower in nutrient density than animal foods like eggs and meat and fish. But that doesn't mean that there's not incredibly valuable, especially for the digestive system, valuable compounds in plants and in botanicals. And this is the problem I have with this guy, Dr. Sean Baker, who's wrote The Carnivore Diet, who says all you need to eat is meat. fiber is really important stuff. Now, fiber is important for the digestive system, in terms of cleaning out the digestive system, and there's certain fibers that help boost the immune system. We talked about beta-glucan. We spent a lot of time talking about beta-glucan, which is a form of soluble fiber. But one of the main jobs of fiber is to act as a source of food for good bacteria. Not only do you help good bacteria proliferate, not only do you improve the health of the good bacteria in the digestive system, but because good bacteria talk to the bile system. Yes, that's really cool, folks. Good bacteria talk to the gallbladder. Good bacteria communicate to the gallbladder to help with bile secretion. And bile is next to the blood, is actually, I don't know if it's the most next to the blood, but it's certainly one of the most important fluids in the body. Case could be made. It's next to the blood, it's the most important fluid in the body. But in any case, it's very important, and there's a relationship between fiber and bacteria and the bile system. So fiber is not only important for the digestive system and for the intestine, which we just said is critical for immunity because of its cleaning effect, and not only because of its prebiotic effect, that is, it feeds probiotics, but also because it supports bile, which means better digestion, which means better detoxification. And oh, guess what? Bile actually acts like an endocrine hormone, which controls the stomach and enzymes in the stomach. See how everything is connected here. So to say, I'm not going to eat plant materials, I'm just going to eat animal foods, which don't contain any fiber, seems a little ridiculous to me, even if the guy who wrote the book, The Carnivore Diet, is a medical doctor. Best thing is to be an omnivore. Human beings are omnivores. We eat everything. All right. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Dr. Diana Drake will be with us in our next segment. You're listening to The Bright Side. We'll be back right after this. On the bright side, I'm Pharmacist Ben. Thanks for being here. We're on the air Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 Pacific and 10 to 11 Central Time, and 24/7 on the archive page at benfuchsarchives.com. Thank you to Peter in the UK for setting that up with a search engine. If you miss a program or you want to review a subject, you've got a search engine as well as 9+ years, going on 10 years now, of archived information. You can also find a search engine in our archives at brightsideben.com, and also the longevity products at brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, or criticalhealthnews.com. Got news stories, blog posts, videos, lots of good health information on all our websites, and a Join the Team link that you can click on if you want to sign up to join the Brightside Ben team and start a home-based business. You can also call 866-735-2470 for more info. And don't forget to take a look at our Truth Skin Health products, all formulated in my compounding pharmacy for wound healing. Wound healing equals beauty. Health is beauty, and healing the skin is beauty, and that's what Truth Skin Health products are all about. TruthTreatments.com. Never any preservatives, fragrances, fillers, waxes, emulsifiers. Nothing your skin doesn't need or doesn't want in any of our Truth Skin Health products. Thus, our 1,500+ 4- and 5-star reviews, which you can take a look at truthreviewed.com. Truth Reviewed with a D, truthreviewed.com. TruthTreatments.com for our Truth Skin Health products. TruthReviewed.com for our 1,500+ 4- and 5-star reviews. All right, I am looking forward to speaking to our guest today, Dr. Diana Drake. I've known her for probably 10 years or so. Dr. Diana Drake is a naturopath, and she works on the whole body like all naturopaths do. She specializes in skin conditions, treating skin conditions like acne, eczema, and rosacea. She also specializes in the endocrine system and hormone replacement therapy. We're going to talk a little COVID, we'll talk a little hormone health, and we'll also talk skin health. Please welcome to the bright side, Dr. Diana Drake. Hello, Dr. Drake.
Hi, Ben. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's so nice to have you on. I've been reading your stuff, and I've been thinking about having. I like the concept of naturopathy. First, tell us a little bit about the distinction between naturopaths and regular medical doctors, and then we'll talk a little bit about. I want to talk a little bit about COVID, and then also the skin.
Yeah, absolutely. So a naturopath, as you said, looks at the body as a whole. So when we're dealing with a disease or a symptom, we actually first locate the root cause of that symptom, which might not even be in the same system where it's expressing that symptom, right? So we actually go for the root, and we heal at the root cause using only homeopathic medicine or herbs versus Western medicine, they're going to just look at the symptom and give you a drug to reduce that symptom, but they don't actually heal the root cause. Hence, you have to be on the drug forever, typically.
How about psychology? Do you work with psychological health or mental health at all?
I do, especially teenage depression is really rampant right now. So I do help a lot of people with that.
Do you suspect that all the stuff that's going on in the news, like with COVID and the vaccine, the instability and the uncertainty that seems to be endemic, has something to do with depression? Actually,
yes. In fact, people tell me that is negatively affecting them. So, yes, that is definitely a big piece of it. I also find when you're dealing with depression, there are a lot of heavy metals in the body typically, and the body has an impaired ability to produce glutathione, which is what detoxes those heavy metals through the liver. So a lot of combination of things going on with depression.
What do you do for heavy metals?
So I have lots of different ways that you can kind of do heavy metal detoxes using homeopathy and herbs. You know what else is great just to go out there and do when you can for everyone are the infrared saunas. That's really great to get that deep sweat going, get the heavy metals out that way. And I know there's a lot of people that follow the medical medium. He talks a lot about celery juicing and parsley and different things that help detox the body of heavy metals as well.
Do you have a take on the difference between far infrared and near infrared saunas?
Oh, my goodness. That's a good question. I think that it's best to have a combination of both, but I can't exactly tell you why. I know that I have a sauna. I know it has a combination of both. I don't remember what the people told me, really was the difference, but just that they said it's better to have both. Do you have a take on it?
Do you have what? Yeah, I agree with you. They both have their ups. They both have their benefits. But do you have a sauna in your practice or at home?
I just have one at home that
so
I use. I try to use a couple times a week.
Do you recommend that people do? You recommend people just do saunas on their own then?
I think that is a really great kind of thing that you can do on your own for general health and wellness. Yes.
Do you know anything about? Have you heard this guy? The Scientology guy used to talk about using saunas to detox from alcohol and from drugs. Have you ever heard of that?
You can definitely use a sauna to detox from everything. I do. I have heard of him.
Yeah,
but yeah,
L. Ron Hubbard. That was his
name. Sauna to really detox from anything. And what's unique about the infrared sauna is it actually creates a fever in the body. So fevers are your friend. Fevers get out pathogens and they push things out the skin. So it's actually, if you're ever running a low-grade fever, it's actually a good thing. Your body's trying to get something out. So the last thing you want to do is take a Tylenol or something to stop or suppress what the body's trying to do on its own. You actually want to help it. So if you are ever running a fever or getting sick, getting in a sauna is actually a really good thing.
Interesting. So actually up the heat if you have a fever, you're saying?
Yes, I'm saying you want to help the body trying to do what it's doing instead of suppressing. So if your body wants you to get hot to get something out, help it.
Interesting. All right, so you specialize in hormones. That's one of the things that you do. I imagine you do HRT. Do you do HRT? Do you suggest HRT?
I do not. So hormone replacement therapy would be putting a specific hormone in the body that the level is depleted. And the reason I don't do that is because it's just not holistic. When you only put one hormone into the body, you're not addressing the root cause of why that hormone isn't producing on its own, number one. And number two, when your body thinks, oh, okay, now I already have that proper hormone level in my blood, now it's going to stop making it at all.
It downregulates. Really
stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
that's interesting.
Stuck on that HRT, yeah.
So you must be freaking out with all these people, especially here in Colorado, who are doing HRT, physicians who are doing HRT in clinics where they do HRT. They're clinics where you could actually just walk in and just get hormones. That must bug you.
I try to not let it stress me out. A lot of times I get people that are just, they're exhausted of doing it. They feel good at the beginning, but at some point down the road, you get to a burnout place where, your physician has you on the highest dose, but you still aren't feeling good. You're not getting the benefits anymore. So I just have to go in. I have to detox all those synthetic hormones out, and we just re-educate the body homeopathically. When you do it homeopathically, you're actually inputting the frequencies of the entire endocrine system into the body. So not just driving one hormone level up or down, but you're kind of just uploading a file to the cells to say, hey, guys, this is how we want you to do it. And it gets the whole endocrine system talking together and working correctly again.
Do you see menopausal women or perimenopausal women who are dealing with hot flashes and anxiety and insomnia and all the stuff that comes with menopause?
Absolutely.
And so if somebody comes in and you're obviously not going to give them estrogen or even testosterone or progesterone, so what do you do? I mean, are there actually homeopathic treatments that can take care, that can address those? And actually, we have to take a break. So I want to talk about that when we come back. Literal homeopathic treatments for, I'm sure some of my listeners want to hear, homeopathic treatments for dealing with some of these symptoms, and maybe even herbal treatments. All right? Sound good, Dr. Drake? Thank you. We got Dr. Diana Drake with us. We're talking the endocrine system and skin health. Hopefully we'll get into a little COVID stuff. We'll be back with more of Dr. Drake on the bright side right after this. Okay, we are back on the bright side. I'm Pharmacist Ben, talking to Dr. Diana Drake, naturopath and practitioner of holistic medicine, as am I. So, Dr. Drake, before we went to our break, you were saying how you use homeopathy to treat hot flashes and anxiety and some of the other symptoms of menopause. Tell us a little bit about that. Like, what kind of homeopathic remedies?
Sure. So I trained under a really great doctor in California, the owner of California College of Natural Medicine, Dr. Dale, and she actually has a proprietary system for both men and women to really re-educate the entire hormone system. So it's a combination of creams and drops that would go sublingual, meaning under the tongue. And it's a little slower of a result than you would get with hormone replacement therapy, because we're actually working to correct something in the body so that the body can work on its own naturally, right? So
how slow? How slow? How long before you start to notice things?
You know, it really depends on the body. I've seen women that feel better in as little as 2 weeks, and others that it takes 3 to 6 months. So it just it really depends on the health of the individual. Diet really comes into play. So
tell us about that. What do you mean by that, like specifically?
Sure. I mean, like I could give you all the supplements in the world, but if you are not eating clean and we have stuff going on in the gut and we have a lot of emotional trauma, that stuff needs to be cleaned up in order for things to really work, because everything in the body is connected. But yeah, the good news is typically there are, most things that go wrong with the endocrine system can be rectified homeopathically, including women that have had their ovaries removed, and they're not making, estrogen in the ovaries anymore. So there's all kinds of things that you could use the hormone kit on, definitely.
Name some names. Like, what do you like? What kind of homeopathic remedies? Or is it just a proprietary blend?
It's a blend. So she does so there's every hormone that the body has are in these remedies in different frequencies. So yes, we've got testosterone, we've got all the estrogens, progesterone, cortisol is in there, hypothalamus gland, adrenal, all of the pieces of the pie are in there. So when we do things homeopathically, at least in this regard, we're inputting all the correct information into the body so that the whole system works together. So we don't just put in testosterone or just progesterone. We put in a holistic picture of what the body needs to be doing.
So you're saying these are
confusing.
These are homeopathic analogs of the hormones. Is that right?
Exactly.
Interesting. Oh, that's very interesting. Okay, so how about for male menopause or andropause? Same deal?
Same thing. So we would have, a formula that is more male driven, right? So a little bit more information for testosterone in there, but still dealing with cortisol, hypothalamus, adrenals, all the things that have to talk to each other for the testosterone to work properly. So it's really hard for people to get their head around because they're so used to just saying, well, what is the dose of this one hormone that I need? So it's hard to explain to people that that's not what we're doing. But it really does work beautifully with the body. You cannot accidentally give a woman breast cancer, which is something that can happen when you do hormone replacement therapy.
Right.
You can't accidentally drive levels too high or to an unsafe level. It really is balancing.
Do you get a lot of pushback from the medical community?
I actually have a lot of people in the medical community that come to me. I see a lot of nurses, dentists.
Interesting.
Don't have any MDs, but I definitely have a lot of people from the medical community in here for sure. Yeah.
What about hypothyroidism?
Oh, that's also another thing that I get a lot, which I love. That one, we also use homeopathic remedies, and I've seen really great results with that. Typically, if people are very compliant, between 3 to 6 months, we can get the thyroid back on track. And I have to legally say that is not a medical claim.
Okay, gotcha. What's shifting gears a little bit here? What's your take on the vaccine?
Well, as a naturopath, I am against vaccines just because they are kind of forcing the body and the immune system to do something that it innately is supposed to be doing on its own. And when you force the immune system or trigger something in that way, we can over-trigger, and it results in a lot of autoimmune diseases, which is a huge problem, as you know, right now. And they're also full of heavy metals and all kinds of other toxins. I think that there's definitely a link between that and all the depression and the impaired glutathione pathway detoxing that I was talking about earlier. So when the body has too many heavy metals, it cannot detox the heavy metals. And I think that's what happens with vaccines. This particular vaccine is interesting because it's actually messing with our RNA, which I think I'm completely against. I don't understand why anyone would want to take a vaccine for something with a fatality rate less than 1%.
So I'm with you on that. So let me ask you this. Why do you think people are lining up to get the vaccine? I mean, really, literally, line up camping out to get one.
Sure. It's out of fear and lack of education and understanding what the body really needs and does, and understanding that, vaccines aren't really the answer. The answer is having a clean environment and a clean body.
How about COVID itself? What's your take on that?
Oh, my take on COVID. Well, I think that every time historically that we go through these big pandemics, there's another thing going on that people don't realize, and that is, for some reason or another, there is extra radiation on the Earth. Have you read Dr.
Cowan? Are you Dr. Thomas Cowan? He says the same thing.
I have not.
He says exactly that.
Yeah. It was Arthur Furstenberg, I want to say, that wrote a whole history of humanity and how radiation, in as little as things as just the radio and telegrams moving forward to now 5G and all these things. Exactly. Yeah. How all these things have affected plants, humans, animals, and the environment. And if you really take the time to study it, it's pretty obvious. We also have something called sun cycles, and when the sun completes a cycle, it gives off more radiation, and that we are at the end of a sun cycle right now. And we also have 5G coming through right now. So that is going to make any flu season very nasty. And unless you are an extremely healthy individual, it's going to be hard.
Interesting. Probably compounded with processed foods and air pollution and all the toxic things that are in our environment in general.
Exactly.
Probably has some, right? Yeah, it's interesting.
Exactly.
But we want to be medicalized for some reason. It's like the big problem is an idea. I was talking about this earlier in the program today. A big problem is this mind parasite, this mind virus that says we got to be medicalized, that we can't handle things ourselves.
Yes. Well, that is purposely implanted in us since we're children. Go to the doctor, do what you're told. We're not taught about our body, except for, this is your gallbladder, this is what it does, this is your heart, this is what it does. We are purposely kept in the dark about our bodies.
Isn't that terrible? That's the most intimate thing there is our bodies, and that's the one thing that we're almost the most ignorant about is how our bodies work.
Absolutely. I mean, they've created this complete regime of, we're just not in control. Go to your doctor and go do what they say. I mean, some people come in here and they actually don't know what their gallbladder even does, and I have to tell them.
Isn't that crazy?
And
Most people, I would say.
What things do. Yeah, most people don't. That's scary. You're walking around with your body every day and you don't know what it does.
Isn't that crazy? And that's why it's okay to have it taken out, because if you don't know what it is, then, what the heck? I can live without it.
Take it right out.
Take it right out.
Exactly.
How many people do you see who are sick who have had their gallbladder taken out? Have you noticed a connection?
I do. I do have a lot of people that have had, unfortunately, organs removed that wasn't necessary, in my opinion. So now we have to work on other stuff that they're always going to be having to work on, right? Because now other organs have to pick up the slack, and those organs need extra care. And really the lifestyle in the first place is what needs to be addressed, because that's how these, especially with the gallbladder, that's how these things happen in the first place.
And that's the lifestyles where we have our control, too. That's so perfect. It is about lifestyle.
But people think that they can blame things on genetics, because that's what we've also been taught. Like, oh, it's not my fault. I have this. It runs in my family. I try to explain to people, no, your lifestyle habits run in your family because your parents raised you to eat like they did, and they were raised by their grandparents, So I try to get people out of that mindset of that they're a victim of their genes.
Dr. Drake, we're out of time. Tell my listeners how they can get a hold of you if they want.
Sure. You can reach me through my website, DMD for Diana M. Drake, naturalmedicine.com, or call 303-999-0019.
Thank you so much, Dr. Drake, for being on the bright side. Have a beautiful day. Good to talk to you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Ben.
That was Dr. Diana Drake. Her website is dmdnaturalmedicine.com. That's all the time we have for today. Have a beautiful day. We'll talk to you later, folks. Bye for now.